Nissan was one of those companies that originally cracked the EV market with its Leaf. Now that was a car that sold in its thousands across the globe and showed that electrification could be accessible to the masses and easy to use too. But the Leaf, well, that's dated a little bit now. And now Nissan has to move on to something totally new, and that's where this comes in, the Ariya. Now the Ariya aims to set a whole new tone for Nissan in terms of its electric vehicles, and will go on to spawn plenty of other EVs down the line. But this is the first car that we've got, so we need to find out what it's like. So let's get behind the wheel and see what's what. You can tell that the Ariya has been designed to be as slippery and aerodynamic as possible. At the front is a smoothed off grille, which is a de facto choice for EVs as it helps to push the air around the car. And also, there are no radiators that need to be cooled down. Around the back, the Ariya moves into a high sill line, which gives it quite a futuristic appearance, while the ultra-thin LED lights extend this even further. You can tell that Nissan has made the most of a new electric platform for the Ariya because there's loads of space in here and the floor is perfectly flat, so you get this real good impression of spaciousness around you. There's some interesting design features too, so you've got this floating center console which sits above some power outlets, and in the middle you have got some smaller cubby items, though they're not going to fit any large cups. In the middle, you've got some really interesting haptic feedback style buttons for the driver modes and the e-pedal settings, and that's mirrored by similar style buttons for the heating and ventilation controls here. They look really cool and they feel quite sturdy to operate too. They're a nice difference to traditional buttons. In the middle, there's a large central screen which houses all your media and connectivity functions, and you also get Apple CarPlay, so syncing your smartphone is nice and easy. In front, there's a secondary driver's display which handles all of your key information and relays it back nice and clearly too. And in the middle we've got a multifunction steering wheel which actually has pleasantly physical buttons, which is just what you want when you're operating them on the move. Too often we've had haptic style feedback buttons on the steering wheel that are flimsy and difficult to operate, so these are nice and sturdy and easy to use. There's an impressive amount of space in the back of the Ariya. Now it's that flat floor that really pays dividends here, because it means that the person sitting in the middle has got plenty of space and they aren't going to feel too cramped. So this is a genuine 5-seater car. Elsewhere, we've got some nice large seat back pockets and some reasonably large side door bins, though realistically you're only going to get a small bottle down there. Then when it comes to charging, there's a conventional USB charger and a USB-C charger, but it's all tied together with a really clean, modern look, which I think is really good. It also comes with ISOFIX mounting points for the rear seats, so you're able to attach those car seats safely. When it comes to boot space, the Ariya offers up 466 litres, which is a decent amount, but actually less than you'll get in the Kia EV6. However, it is square and easy to access, and of course you can expand it by lowering those rear seats flat. There is a number of powertrain and battery setups available for the Ariya, but the one we've got today is arguably the simplest. It's got a single motor with 215 brake horsepower, and this is linked to a 63 kilowatt-hour battery, which should result in you getting 250 miles between charges. Now, you can go for a bigger battery version, which brings around about 329 miles. And there's also the option for a more powerful motor and four-wheel drive. But I think this is the one people are going to go for. Of course, if you are wanting the best possible range, then that big battery version is going to be the best choice. But actually, 250 miles is pretty reasonable from a car of this size. But what's it like to drive? Well, the balance of the Ariya is actually very good and the steering is really pleasant. So through the bends, this car is actually quite enjoyable to drive. There's torque there, of course. It's got 300 Newton meters of torque in this particular Ariya, and that means that the pickup is pretty strong. As you get with all electric cars, you get that instant delivery of torque, but it makes this car feel a little bit quicker than the on-paper figures might lead you to believe. And those on-paper figures are 0 to 60 miles an hour in 7.3 seconds, which is pretty respectable. That's almost warm hatch kind of territory, isn't it? The only thing I find interesting with this Ariya is the one-pedal driving system. Now, Nissan has always talked about one-pedal driving, and in its previous generation Leaf, it used to work really well. You could actually drive it just with the throttle pedal, letting off when you wanted to brake, and it would actually provide a lot of braking force. However, in this car, you let off, and it's not strong. It's not as strong as in the Leaf anyway. And you do have to use your primary braking system. So it's definitely not a one-pedal system. I always thought the one pedal system was quite good, so it's a shame that it's just not a little bit better integrated into this car. However, apart from that, the rest of the weights are really good. In terms of visibility, it's something of a mixed bag. We've got a really nice big windscreen and we've got slim pillars, so the forward area is really good and easy to see out from. The rear screen is quite small, and over the shoulder, the large pillars do block your view, so there are quite large blind spots in that area. Now, the other reason, which you'll probably have just seen to talk about the Ariya, is its ride quality. As with so many EVs, this car struggles to disguise its weight. Now, what happens when you add more weight to a car? You have to stiffen up the suspension to compensate. Otherwise, it would just fall all over the place. But what you get as a byproduct is quite a stiff ride. And at times, the Ariya just struggles to deal with its own weight. So if you hit a pothole, and it just struggles to deal with them. One area that the Ariya does really well in is refinement. Now, when you have an electric motor, that lack of engine noise can quickly make any kind of rattle or niggle very apparent. But fortunately, in the Ariya, everything feels really well put together, and actually it's a really quiet and composed environment. It's one of the true benefits, I think, of an EV powertrain, is that very silent, really relaxing motoring. In fact, the driving experience of the Ariya isn't particularly sci-fi or otherworldly as we found in other electric cars. It feels like a Nissan SUV, and that's a pretty good thing, really. If you are after an experience that is closer to a traditional petrol or diesel car, and this feels pretty close to it. The new Ariya definitely sets a positive tone for Nissan. It arrives with a very striking design which helps to set it against the crowd, and it's got an interior which feels both modern and well made too. It's backed by some really good battery and motor choices, while the option of all-wheel drive and upgraded power means that there is something there for people who want a little more punch from their EV. But most of all, it's just how normal this EV feels that means that it'll slot into everyday life, particularly for those people who feel a little bit concerned about making the transition from a petrol or diesel car into a battery-powered vehicle. So given that the market is so overflowing with options, the Ariya is still one that's definitely worth checking out. Thank you for watching this Motors.co.uk new car review on the Nissan Ariya. Now, what do you think of this car? Please leave us a comment in the section below and leave us a like if you have enjoyed this video. Plus, while you're here, please remember to subscribe to the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel, hitting that bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new review.